If I cannot eat it, I won't grow it. I have heard this so many times about flowers. Do you feel the same? Then congratulations, you've clicked on the right video. Because in today's video, I'm sharing 16 of my favorite edible flowers that you can grow in your backyard garden. And yes, in containers and balconies too. I am Amrita Pordake and welcome to my channel. If you're enjoying today's video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. The first one that I absolutely love and it grows like wildflowers here in California is Nasturtiums. These cheerful looking flowers come in a variety of vibrant hues, from sunny yellows to deep reds with variegated, beautiful leaves. And the entire plant is edible, starting from the leaves to the flowers to also the buds that taste like capers. They are peppery flavored and are an excellent addition to salads, pasta dishes, and even desserts. As I mentioned, the seed pods can also be pickled and can be used just like you would use capers. Not only are they an excellent plant that is edible, but they are also a great trap crop and can be used in companion planting with a lot of your vegetables. They draw out aphids and other garden pests from your valuable vegetables like beans, broccoli, cabbage, cucumber, kale, melon, and many other vegetables. They are also a favorite of pollinators like bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds, and have such a pretty fragrance that it is also a favorite in cut flower arrangements. It is grown as an annual flower, but it can also be grown as a perennial in zones of 9 to 11. The next one is marigolds. These are really easy and fast-growing flowers, and I absolutely adore them in my garden. They have a bold, citrusy scent and have striking orange and yellow flowers. I have always grown up with marigolds because they are used in a lot of our festivals in India, and I absolutely love seeing them hanging in the house. It brings so many amazing memories from my childhood. These are also amazing companion plants and can naturally repel most pests like deer and rabbits because they don't like their offensive smell. Honestly, I love the smell even if it is a little strong. I know some people actually find it too strong, but I think it's such an amazing addition to the garden that I always have it in my raised beds. What I have found since last year is every time I plant it around my tomatoes, I don't get any hornworm infestations. Last year, I had it around my tomatoes and I had no hornworm infestations at all. And this year too, up until now, I have seen no hornworms on any of my tomatoes because I have planted them around the tomatoes. But be careful if you have snails or slugs because they absolutely adore them. And oh my gosh, they were going nuts eating them in my vegetable garden. As soon as I planted them, the next day they were just gone. They were just devouring them. It was like I was planting treats for them in the garden. But yes, that also meant they were staying away from other plants. But I had such a bad snail and slug infestation that I actually ended up putting covers on all my marigolds so that they could at least survive, and the plants made it to a little bit bigger plants and could actually help my tomatoes. Now, if you're also growing a specific variety called the Tajit species, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, they are also known to be very effective in getting rid of any nematodes in your soil. They suppress the root rot and lesion nematodes. So if you're having issues with nematodes in your garden, make sure to plant this particular species of marigolds in your garden. They are hardy in zones 2 to 11, and in zones of 10 and warmer, they can actually be grown even in winter. The next one is Calendula, also known as the pot marigolds, and are not the same as the marigolds that we discussed before. These have beautiful sunny blooms. Before, they only came in orange, but nowadays they come in a variety of colors and can add a subtle saffron-like flavor to your soups, stews, and rice dishes. I absolutely adore them in my garden, and I've had them from about 2 to 3 years in my garden. Although they are annuals, they grow as perennials in my garden. This past winter, I had flowers on them throughout the winter. It was not as rambunctious as it is during spring and summer, but it was still flowering all through winter. And when none of my other flowers were blooming, there they were blooming all winter long. I absolutely love this plant. If you have to pick one of these please at least plant calendula, because not only does it give that wow factor to your garden, but it also is an amazing pollinator and has so many medicinal benefits. It is used in traditional medicine for ulcer and wound healing and has anti-inflammatory, antifungal, and antibacterial properties. It is a power horse of a flower. It is hardy in zones 2 to 11 and can be grown as an annual, but it can also be grown as a perennial in zones 9 to 11. The next one is Borage. With its star-shaped blue flowers and cucumber-like taste, Borage is a versatile edible that can be used to garnish drinks, salads, and soups. And yes, you can also add them to your ice cubes for that extra special cake for all your summer drinks. I adore these beautiful flowers. They look so amazing. I always love to use them in drinks and decorate my desserts. This plant self-sows with plenty of black seeds, and this is part that you're gonna love or hate about it. And to be clear, I absolutely love it about this because I have only planted this plant once in my garden 2 years ago, and it took me a little while to get it started. Initially, I was having trouble getting it to germinate. I don't know why, because it sprouts so easily. But then once it did, and once I had it established in my garden last year, it has been spreading its seeds nonstop. I constantly get these free plants. So here are two things that I do. I take out these young seedlings and put them in pots so that if I have some empty spaces in the garden, which are kind of looking drab and I want to fill them up, I will put this in there. So not only is it a great pollinator for the plants around it, it will also give me more flowers to use. But secondly, it also gives me a lot of free plants that I can give to my friends and family. I have given it to my brother, who loved it because it has started flowering almost immediately since I gave it to him. And it's been growing in a pot in his apartment balcony. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't have a huge garden to grow it in, you can absolutely grow it on your balcony. And if you think you don't want it to spread throughout your garden, you can just weed it out. Just use it in your compost pile. You don't have to keep it in. If I am getting a weed in the garden, I would have preferred weeds like this that can actually help my garden and give me a lot of benefits rather than some of the other weeds that I don't end up using from my garden. It is hardy in zones 3 to 10 and it grows about 1 to 3 feet tall with shrubby branching stems. Keep in mind the leaves and the stems of borage are a little spiky, and as they grow, as they mature, they become spikier. So if you have allergies, just be careful when you're handling it. Try to wear gloves when you're around it. The other thing I would also say is when it comes to all these edible flowers, be careful as to how much you're consuming it. Also, make sure you have checked in with your healthcare professional if you have any conditions or you're taking any medications, that you're okay in consuming these flowers, especially in a large quantity, because they could have some interactions with your medications that you're already taking. Borage, for instance, is not recommended for people with liver issues, and if you are pregnant or you're breastfeeding, you should be careful as to what you're consuming. The next one is Violas. These beautiful and delicate flowers come in a variety of colors, and because of their mild, sweet taste, they are perfect to be used in decorating various desserts, cakes, and also savory dishes. They are small plants that bloom best when they are planted in full sun, but actually prefer the cooler temperatures versus the harsh summer heat. They are hardy in zones 3 to 8. The next one is sunflowers. While the large, showy blooms of sunflowers are definitely eye-catching, petals of some of the varieties of sunflowers are also edible with a slightly nutty taste. The seeds from larger sunflower varieties like the sunflower mammoth gray are edible and are an amazing snack option. Nowadays, you can also get sunflower butters that are made out of these seeds. They are hardy in zones zones 4 to 9 depending upon the variety. And if you think sunflowers are only for people with bigger gardens because they grow so tall, for all the people gardening in smaller spaces and balcony gardens, I have got you too. So anything that you see as a dwarf sunflower variety is an excellent variety to grow in a small garden. And here are some of the varieties. The next flower is cornflower, although also known as bachelor's buttons. This flower is most commonly seen as a blue flower, but recently there have been a lot more colors that I have seen in them, and they come in pink, maroon, and white colors. They have a subtle spicy flavor to them that can make them an excellent addition to salads, drinks, baked goods. And I have recently seen them used a lot in teas and chocolates. They are hardy, low maintenance, and prefer medium moisture and well-drained soils. They can do well in full sun to partial shade, but absolutely love when you give them a full sun. They will flower more profusely in full sun. I love them as options of plant fillers in between the rest of my vegetable gardens. Not only do the pollinators love them, they also bring this gorgeous pop of color in between the rest of your green vegetables. This is another plant that self-seeds. So if you're a gardener who loves free plants, this is another one for you. The next one is Dianthus. A more commonly known variety from the Dianthus family is carnations, which you have probably seen in all the grocery stores. Carnations are also known as pinks and have a spicy clove-like taste that can add an interesting twist to your baked goods or even your salads and soups. They also make really good infused oils. They are pollinator friendly, very low maintenance, and come in a lot of varieties that you can grow in your garden. The most commonly seen variety is the carnation or Dianthus caryophyllus, but there's also a variety called sweet William or Dianthus barbatus that grows about 12 to 24 inches tall. Chinese pinks or Dianthus chinensis are white, pink, or red open-faced flowers with fringed petals and a dark centered eye. They are hardy in zones 4 to 8. I have to mention that if you want to eat any of these flowers, make sure that they are grown without any sprayed pesticides or chemicals. If I'm using these flowers as edible flowers, I usually grow them myself, or if I buy it from stores, I will make sure that they are grown organically. I will not use the flowers that we find in the grocery store as edible flowers. The next one is chrysanthemums or mums. This is a very popular flower in fall or autumn, and the petals of these vibrant daisy-like flowers have a slightly peppery taste. They can be used as a pop of color. They can be added to soups, stews, or even stir fries. They are hardy perennials. And if you want them to come back year after year, make sure to plant them in spring because that it would give it enough time for root development and does help it perennialize. Here's a tip if you're growing them in containers and are not getting that many buds. Most of the people that are growing them in containers are keeping them on porches in the fall where the only light that they are getting is the night light from the porch lights or the security lights, and that's why they are slow to bud. If you move them out in a little bit of sunshine, that would help them tremendously with their bud production, and you would get a lot more flowers out of these plants. They are hardy through zones 5 to 9, and some varieties like the mammoth daisies are also hardy up to zone 3. The next one is lavender. With its calming aroma and delicate floral flavor, lavender is a versatile edible flower that can be used in a variety of things, from baked goods to teas, savory goods, and even cocktails. It has many medicinal benefits like its calming properties that are helpful and are used as a gentle sedative for people with insomnia. They love well-drained soil and plenty of sunlight. Lavenders that I planted in my garden did absolutely terrible in the clay soil that I had in my garden. They only did well once I planted them in pots. Remember, this is a woody herb, so it needs to be pruned regularly, and especially in winter, so that it doesn't turn into the mess that you see that was in my garden. It is hardy from zones 5 to 9, depending on what variety you grow, but can also be grown in zones 3 to 4 if you provide it with good protection. The next one is hibiscus. These flowers are strikingly beautiful and are such a gorgeous pop of color. They are large blooms that are disc-shaped. They are so stunning, and there are so many different varieties available. They have a tart cranberry-like taste that make them a popular choice for infusing teas, syrups, and even salads. They are also really good when used on hair as a conditioner. And I remember when I was little and my mom used them as conditioner on my hair. You just make a light tea out of it and rinse your hair with it as a conditioner. I would caution people with lighter hair though, because the color is so intense, it could dye your hair. But if you have darker hair, usually it doesn't dye it, and the hair just looks beautiful, shiny, and healthier. They love full sun, and even though they might do okay in partial sun, they will not flower as much. They love a well-draining soil and need frequent watering when they're young. They bloom on new wood, that are the new stems coming out that year, so it is best to prune them in early spring so that you can get a ton of blooms for that year. It also has a lot of medicinal uses and is known to soothe headaches, aching limbs, inflammation, and coughs. The next one is roses. One of the most frequently asked questions I got when I first started growing roses was that, why are you growing them? You can't eat them. Well, I have news for all the skeptics out there. Roses are edible. Not the ones you can find in the supermarket that are not grown without pesticides or chemicals, but the ones you grow them yourself or are sourced from someone who has actually grown them without any pesticides or chemical. But yes, they're absolutely edible, have tons of different uses, and are an amazing, amazing flower to grow in your garden. I love roses. They are one of my beloved flowers, especially the David Austin roses. And I have a lot of videos on my channel if you would like to go and see more specific recommendations on what varieties I absolutely love and what I am growing in my own garden. The petals of the rose flowers range in a little bit of a variety of flavors, from sweet to slightly tangy flavors. Use them to garnish desserts, make syrup, make rose water for your face. And I have recently also made rose petal jam with it. They are one of the most popular flowers in the world and are loved for their gorgeous colors and their enchanting scent. Just to name a few, some of my favorite David Austin varieties are the Olivia Rose Austin and the Lady of Shalott, and some other varieties that I'm growing in my garden and absolutely adore are the Distant Rum roses and the Easy Spirit roses. Most roses are hardy in zones 5 to 10, but with a little bit of care, you can also grow them in zones 3 to 4. Next one is chamomile. Known for its calming properties, chamomile flowers are known for their slight apple-like flavor that make them an soothing addition to teas, baked goods, and even salads. You can harvest them once the flower petals start bending backwards, and they can be used fresh or dry. Each plant can give you 3 to 4 harvests of flowers. It needs regular watering when it is young, but can become drought tolerant as it matures. It is a flower that grows easily in most gardens, but honestly, I have struggled with growing it in my own garden. I don't know why, but initially I couldn't get it to germinate. And once I got it to germinate and had the plants about 1 or 2 inches high, something happened. Either they died because it was too hot that week or because the snails just devoured them. Snails are the bane of my existence this year. And somehow they have just calmed down this past month and more things are growing in my garden. But they have been absolutely terrible during spring and early summer in my garden. It is known for its medicinal benefits like decreasing stress, relieving stomach upset, boosting your immune system, trim, and they can help with itchy and inflamed skin conditions like eczema, sunburn, and rashes. There are two types of chamomile. One is German and the second one is Roman chamomile. The German chamomile is an annual that you can plant in your garden, whereas the Roman chamomile is a perennial and is hardy in zones 3 to 9. The next one is bee balm, also known as bergamot. This flower has a unique citrusy flavor that can be used to add a floral twist to teas, lemonades, and even savory dishes. They are nectar-rich perennials that bloom from midsummer through fall. Its vibrant red, pink, or purple flowers attract hummingbirds and butterflies. It is an amazing choice to add color and wildlife interest to your garden. It has many medicinal uses, although it is also known as wild bergamot. It is not the same that is used in Earl Grey tea. That bergamot comes from the oils extracted from the rinds of a bergamot orange, which is a citrus fruit. Bee balm is hardy in zones 4 to 9. Daylilies, the vibrant trumpet-shaped blooms of daylilies, have a delicate, slightly sweet flavor that can be used in stir-fries, soups, and even as a garnish. Daylilies are one of the most prolific and long-bloom perennials. They are also low maintenance, and although every flower only flowers for a day, hence the name daylilies, they have a continuous succession of flowers that bloom from early summer through fall. They come in a rainbow of colors, and some varieties are also reblooming varieties. If you can plant the right combination of varieties with the early, mid, and late blooming varieties, you can have blooms in your garden all season long. They are hardy in zones 3 to 9 and prefer well-drained soil with full sun. The next one is peonies. I love this flower and I have been trying to get it in my garden for a while now. These lush, fragrant flowers have a sweet, slightly fruity flavor that can be used to add a little touch of elegance to desserts, salads, and even cocktails. Peonies are a classic spring blooming perennial that have showy, beautiful blooms. Oh, I love how they look, how they smell. Oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. And they come in beautiful colors of white, pink, yellow, and red. And while they have only a short span of flowers for about 2 to 3 weeks, they make up for it with their impressive, long-lasting flowers. I do still life photography, and some of my other photographer friends and I usually discuss how to keep our blooms lasting for a long time. And one of the tips that they have given me, especially for peonies, is that if you harvest it when it is in bud form and it's almost that marshmallow kind of texture, harvest it early in the morning and wrap it in brown paper or cling wrap completely, and then leave it in your refrigerator for about 3 to 4 weeks. They will stay fine until you take them out and put them in a vase, and they will bloom, and that will extend your season for another 2 to 3 weeks. So try it out and let me know how that works for you. They are hardy in zones 3 to 8, and while they might take a little bit time to adjust to your garden, once established, they can last for years to come in your garden. I have some friends who actually have plants that their mom and grandma used to grow back in the day, and they still have those peony plants. So they really can last for years to come with proper maintenance. And I hope you get to plant one of them in your garden too. I'm hoping I can find one suitable for my Southern California climate, and I really want to get one in my garden for next year. I know I've been asking this even in my previous video, but if you have any peony recommendations for a warmer zone and you have been successful in growing that variety, please let me know what variety worked for you in the comments down below. Remember, when incorporating these edible flowers in your culinary creations, and be sure to use only pesticide-free, organically grown flowers. And please consult your healthcare professional if you have any concerns about their safety or suitability for consumption, especially if you're taking any medications or have any other healthcare issues. Enjoy the vibrant colors, unique flavors, and endless possibilities of these gorgeous edible flowers and what they have to offer you. And if you're looking for some of the rose recommendations that I mentioned before, click on this video right here.